So, Elias, last time we spoke, we ended with the rise of the Bronze Age, the birth of organized empires. But something even greater was on the horizon, wasn't it? The birth of cities.
Yes, Orion. The leap from scattered villages to sprawling cities was perhaps the most important transformation in human history. The moment we stopped merely surviving and started truly living.
But what drove humans to settle in one place? Agriculture was already keeping people in villages. Why take it further?
Necessity. Villages where simple people farmed, traded, lived in small communities. But as populations grew, so did the challenges. Food storage, security, governance. These were things small villages could not handle efficiently. So, some villages grew larger, gathering more people, more ideas, and more problems. The solution? Cities.
So, cities weren't just about growth. They were about organization?
Exactly. Cities required structured leadership, rules, specialized labor. The first cities were not simply groups of people. They were living organisms, each with a heart, a brain, and a purpose. And once the first city was built, there was no turning back.
What were the first true cities like? How did they function?
The first major cities appeared in Mesopotamia, Uruk, Eridu, and Lagash. These were unlike anything the world had ever seen. Streets, bustling with merchants. Massive temples reaching the sky. Entire districts dedicated to pottery, weaving, metalworking. It was the first true division of labor.
People were no longer just farmers?
Exactly. In a village, everyone had to farm. In a city, that changed. Some became craftsmen, others became traders, some became builders, and of course, some became rulers.
Rulers? That means cities needed government.
Yes. With cities came the birth of government and law. Leadership was no longer just the strongest warrior or the wisest elder. It was an institution. Kings emerged, ruling over thousands. Temples became centers of power, and priests played as much a role in ruling as warriors did. The first laws were written, the first taxes collected, the first police forces created.
But surely not everything was perfect. Cities had their own challenges, didn't they?
Oh, Orion, cities were a double-edged sword. Yes, they brought innovation and security, but they also brought disease, crime, and inequality. When people lived close together, sickness spread faster. When food was stored in bulk, it attracted thieves. When rulers rose to power, corruption followed. The very thing that made cities powerful organization also made them fragile.
And war?
Cities did not just bring internal struggles. They brought external enemies. A city with wealth, grain, and walls was a target. For the first time, large-scale warfare became common. Cities built armies, walls, and fortresses. War was no longer between small tribes, it was between kingdoms.
But despite the hardships, cities led to something greater, didn't they? Knowledge.
Indeed, Orion. Once people had a stable food supply, free time increased. And with free time came the rise of writing, science, and philosophy. The first libraries were built, the first records were kept, the Epic of Gilgamesh was written, astronomy was studied, and mathematics was developed. Cities became more than just places of survival. They became places of learning.
And this was the moment when history truly began to be recorded?
Yes. Before cities, history was oral stories passed down through generations. But now, history was etched into clay tablets, preserved for all time. And with that, humanity's memory extended beyond the present.
But Elias, you always speak of balance. What was the cost of this newfound civilization?
Freedom. In villages, people had choices. They could leave, start fresh elsewhere. But in cities, people became tied to their roles. Some were born into wealth, others into poverty. A system was formed that locked people into place. The rise of cities meant the rise of class divisions. And with that, oppression.
So was the city a mistake?
No, Orion. It was inevitable. Just like agriculture, cities were both a gift and a burden. They allowed us to create wonders, but also enslaved us to our own progress. The first cities laid the foundation for everything that came after, for better or worse.
And so, what comes next, Elias? What's the next great transformation?
The thing that allowed cities to function on a whole new level, Orion, writing. Because what good is a city if its knowledge dies with its people? The next step in our journey is the creation of written language, the first true words of mankind. And that, Orion, changed everything.
Then that's where we go next. The first written words, the beginning of recorded history.